playing, singing a song, writing a poem, writing a story, writing a book, whatever. Just we need art in this world because it's this what gives us the courage to survive in the face of so much injustice and unfairness and pain and suffering. Life is suffering, as the Buddha said. Yes, life is suffering. So we need art to at least make it bearable. The New World Order rollout is coming very fast, and it's very interesting to see it because it's under the guise. It basically plays under the guise of socialism and under the guise of basically transnational control, transnational corporations owning the wealth of the world, basically divorcing ourselves from our constitutional republic traditions in America, for example. Right, we've lost our sovereignty over our country, and I think this election is proving that more than anything, that we are losing sovereignty over this country very quickly. If we don't get a hold of America, the New World Order will prevail, and it will basically be this authoritarian modality that will be global and control your body. As they said, some of them have talked about openly, some of these conspirators, the fourth industrial revolution is to basically go post-industrial and to control your digital identity and your biology and to merge it. They don't talk about soul or spirit because it is a dark side. But I do believe that ultimately this is God's universe. Creator source it's not a masculine or feminine concept. It's just the idea of source creation is the ultimate arbiter in this world. And we are an extension of that. And we are going through what we need as a challenge for our consciousness awakening to our own shadows and to the shadows that we have allowed to reign over us, the satanic element that has reigned over this world for too long. We have been basically submitting to it. This is the time now for us to see it in full force, the authoritarianism play out fully, complete control, and then that's our moment to catalyze a new consciousness to say, no, we have to stand in our sovereignty as humans. So everything in this life is that way. Everything in this life is positive and negative duality. So again, I say we have to look constantly requesting to understand, well, what is the eternal truth? And I think love is where you find the eternal truth, that no matter what, nothing can be said against love.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm okay. Which side of the country are you in?
Oh, I'm in Los Angeles.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so we could start in 1, 2, 3, and I think now.
All right, let's do it.
Well, hello. Welcome to Autopedia Live. I am Chris Douglas, and today's guest is a very special gentleman. He's known as an actor, TV show producer, filmmaker, director, journalist, cinematographer, screenwriter, and author. He has also hosted the reality show Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. You know him from Watching the Hoax and on RT America. It is my honor to introduce to you, Sean. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
I'm looking here, and I have to break all the rules and get off this interview rules and everything else, and just ask you. You're from New York City, right?
No, I'm from LA, actually. Originally from
you're
Los
born in New
Angeles.
York, right?
No, no, I'm born in Los Angeles.
Is that right? Because the encyclopedia says New York, and I was looking at New York.
The Wikipedia has nothing accurate. If you haven't figured out by now, Wikipedia has nothing honest on Wikipedia. You know.
Unfortunately, I had to take some information from there, and then I wanted to contact you and ask you to give me the information so we could put it in our encyclopedia, the right information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was looking at
Yes.
New York, and I was so happy. I said, "Oh, well, I'm in Queens, actually." Well, 30 years before your time, actually, I was born. But
oh wow.
yeah, my soul is still there, still young. So yeah, can we start with? Well, I'd love to know about your childhood and hobbies and school, parents, lifestyle at the time.
Well, I grew up basically as a normal kid. You know, I had opportunities to be on film sets, that's true, and to act, but that wasn't really my focus. My focus was being a boy that loved to play with his toys, and I started writing as a kid. I just loved to have time with friends and create and boredom. And I grew up before technology. The computer came in the 90s, so when I was already in my 10 years old or something. So I had that opportunity to have my imagination, which I think is so important for kids to have, and oftentimes they miss out on that now in this day.
Do you still keep in touch with your friends from kindergarten and early school, or they just
some of them? Yeah, yeah. Some of them are. I would say I would still know a little bit about where they are, but it's different. It's definitely. How do you say? You grow in different directions. Your interests are different. Everything changes, I think, as we get older.
I'm trying to find down people, and I'm going in the internet, obviously, and Facebook is one of the platforms that is good for that type of. And I'm trying to find people, and some of them they're still around. Some of them I could find, especially men, because they keep their family name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
What a lovely. I'm looking at your profile, and it's just unbelievable. You lived 10 lives, and you're such a young gent, and I admire everything you do, and it's unreal. And this is a privilege. At 10 years old, your father took you to Tibet. I wish I was there with you.
Yes.
Nepal.
It was amazing trip. Yeah.
Nepal and India. Could you tell us about it, and what would your best impressions, or what impressed you the most, actually, and carried you through life?
Yeah, it was a very powerful experience to travel from the materialistic world of the Western society. And remember, this is now, I think spirituality is starting to grow in the West, in America. There's more awareness of spirituality. There's more awareness of meditation, yoga, right? Practices like this, the third eye, that whole, things that came with the New Age movement, in a sense, that was not maybe as prominent. I think now it's more prominent in America. More people are aware of it and tuning in. So to be a kid from the materialistic world of the West, and to be exposed to the concept of the third eye, to be exposed to the idea of our how do you say, our spiritual life, beyond the physical world, which, again, as a spoiled 10-year-old kid who had, all the toys he wanted and had a very, nice life, to see the extremes of life, and to understand that there's something more. Obviously, there is the material side that we obviously want to raise people's standard of living, but there's also a spiritual reality that we have to be in touch with and within ourselves, to work on our own egos and our sense of possession and ownership, and the egoic journey of basically letting go, surrendering, trusting the creator, trusting creation itself to guide us and to take us in this journey that is oftentimes working out karma, working out our consequence, right, on a soul level. So we have to be mindful of who we really are beyond this world. So I think that opened my understanding of a spiritual life, and it carried with me, of course, throughout my life from there.
Speaking of spiritual experiences, I read about your books and esoteric truth that you are putting out in Mysterious Universe. What is self, in your opinion? What is oneness and conscience? And how do you see the universe?
It's a big question. It's a very big question. What is the self? This is the great question that we all face, because many people get stuck in different levels of self, right? Our consciousness can identify ourself with whatever our consciousness is focused on. So if you're focused on your little finger, that is an extension of self. But is that the totality of self? No, of course not, right? That's the little finger. It's an extension, the same way that we are an extension of our greater selves, our higher selves. Our soul, if you want to call soul, that which is vast and connected to an oversoul, perhaps, or to creation, again, to creation itself, like an ocean. So if you want to be you can focus on yourself as the drop of water, or you can be the tide, or you can be the entire sea, right? This is all different conceptions, because we are in this world that is like Russian dolls, right? The Russian dolls, every layer is replica of a bigger layer. But you can go down to the smallest layer and still find an expression of self and a representation of self. And then you can go to the greatest cosmos and see the order and say that is also the self. So where do you begin and end? You have to become mindful of a continuity, let's say, which is maybe your truth beyond this life. Because in this life, we're discontinuity. Right? We begin as a baby, we grow, we get hair that grows out, then we get into our male form or our female form, and then we start to age and we become like a baby again, right? So it's discontinuity is life. What is the continuity in a world that is discontinuous? Our world is honestly, people think it's continuous. Our world is as discontinuous as any dream. Just because the discontinuity in the dream is faster, we think it's a different reality. But actually, it's very similar to this one. There's discontinuity, right? We have a conversation with someone. Our mood and our feelings change between the beginning and the end of the conversation. It's discontinuity. Life is discontinuity. So what is the continuous thing in our existence? That is the quest, to find that which is continuous. And that is, again, to be in touch with soul, spirit, that power, that drive that comes through us and works through us from a higher place, and seeking these, eternal forms that will last beyond this lifetime. And then you start to look at, in a Platonic sense, well, what is the good in that case? What is the good? Well, to expand our consciousness and our awareness and our knowledge, to understand consequence more, to understand the greater picture. Hopefully it's meaning allowing you to create more goodness in the world, right? But everything has a double edge in this reality, with duality. The sun is the basis of all life on this planet, but we know it can burn you, right? If you're exposed to it too long, it would cook you, right? So everything in this life is that way. Everything in this life is positive and negative, duality. So again, I say we have to look constantly requesting to understand, well, what is the eternal truth? And I think love is where you find the eternal truth, that no matter what, nothing can be said against love. Love actually is the only power that to me is continuously good.
Wonderful. Looking at the universe, and obviously you have through Tesla's eyes, or to Einstein's eyes, or to many other eyes. Everyone questions why we come in, why we are here, and what's thereafter. And this is a fantastic question that if you don't ask it early, you will come to ask it at the last moments. We all contemplate it. Sometimes we write, sometimes we go into music and express it that way, and it's always something that tells us it's like a feeling we're here for a reason. It seems like we're here for a reason, no matter what that reason is. And it's cause creates effect, and it leads us, and then you have the karmatic phenomena where everything drags after the past and it completes itself. It's a big question. how do you are religious actually, or just spiritual, or both?
Yeah, I don't believe I'm a religious person. Religion to me is repetition. Religion is like repetition, right? And I'm more spontaneous. I believe in the spontaneity in the moment, because if you're really present to the moment, you are engaging with the truth of the moment, not the truth of yesterday, not the truth of 100 years ago or 10 or 1,000 years ago. Your truth of the moment is to be present to the moment. So religion is part of the structure that keeps people in programs, that keeps them in certain behavior patterns that may at some point serve them, but also will be a disservice because it gets them stuck and rigid and not able to move, which is life. Life is motion, it's adapting, right? It's being able to feel into things and see, well, maybe yesterday this was the situation, but today, we're in different energy states, right? You have to be adaptive. So I'm not a religious person. No, I think I'm a spiritual person, because I believe that the books that were handed down that are the basis for religion were based in truth, spiritual truths that have been misunderstood, misinterpreted, and lead to many people that are misguided, because they have to be present with spirit in the moment. If you're being present with spirit in the moment, then you can have, then you can say you're religious, that's fine. But being in the moment is the key. Being aware how the situation, circumstances are differing, and you have to be in connection with spirit here now. Living God, not dead God, not old God, living God here at this moment now.
At what age did you realize you had a call for writing?
Well, again, as I said, I used to like writing as a kid. I enjoyed storytelling, really. Even playing with my toys. It's like there's an ability to convey a story through little characters, right? So I enjoyed writing when I was as early as 7. I think just putting thoughts to paper, writing notes. I think I did my first script, half of my first script at 10. I finished my first script at 14. So I was always interested in writing notes. I think it's important to keep a diary or a dream journal or just reflections, even if it's not a diary every day, but just like to reflect on ideas, inspiration, insights, good dialogue, poems. It's important for us to have that relationship to our consciousness, that we can look back after years and say, wow, this is what I was thinking 10 years ago. I'm so different now. Or, hey, I really had something here 20 years ago. I had an insight and it's still relevant.
Yeah, without poetry, there's no love, and vice versa. But
the language of the soul.
Yeah. It's amazing. Everything is poetry, actually. Everything from start to end, and be able to look at it and even put it down, and even have you to express that in the song of writing. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Because writing is music, and poetry is there's a lot of music in poetry, and it's so deep. And by the way, I've read I went through your latest book, and I'm looking also at Desiderata, which is a wonderful. In fact, I'd like to make a stop here and try to get the sound in it for the listeners so they could go and find it.
Yeah, thank you.
Here the light explodes, carrying me through the velvet black behind my eyelids, lifting the curtains of the stage. The first turn. All I can remember was one. Looking into your eyes beneath the grand chandelier where the court slept, our hands held tenuously to the freedom we shared. I had slipped out my window to renew our dance. We were not meant to see each other unaccompanied before our marriage. And yet, upon this stage, we fancied ourselves actors, role-playing the lives of others. Tonight, I was the errant prince, and you, my captive queen. I can hear the steps of our dance when my eyes freely roam to undress you, beyond the reproach of curious onlookers in the emptied hall. Our feet skirted the floor as though winged by Hermes' feathered slippers, never breaking in stride. Side by side, now face to face, I compelled you by the grace of your ease. And a laugh, cascading cheerfully along the arched ceilings, was enough to rouse him, drawing him forth. His eyes rarely blinked, sharpened as they were by an eternal stare. They referred to him as the eye that stares forever. They whispered how he trafficked in souls, for he had surrendered his own in a pact of blood. But I dismissed such rumors, having never contemplated the value of a soul's import. I knew only that I had been groomed to one day make you my wife. We would have children who would come to assume their title as heirs to a kingdom of abundance. We did not own this world, but we were blessed by its coherence, just as the earth is blessed by the sun's shine and the trees' air. As surely as the fruit would sprout in spring, you and I would love, like our shared dance, upon the oak floor, designed as an astrolabe, guiding our feet like sailors in search of the night's star maps. Like the globe upon its axis, our worlds revolved around our spinning hips, while his green eyes stared from beyond the calico curtains. All the while it was your eyes that hypnotized me, compelling me to follow as you pulled away to stand proudly in Venus's stead, one hand resting gently between your thighs, the other shielding your heart, fastening it within your breast.
I mean, I probably listened to it about 10 times.
Thank you.
Before we getting to speak with you. And
Yes, well.
your latest book, by the way, is showed right here, The Ephemeral Shades of Time. I haven't had a chance to go inside that. I'll probably get it from you directly instead of getting from the Amazon because of the privilege of getting it signed. But this is just wonderful to reach people out through poems and verse.
Yes,
just amazing.
It's important.
Somerset Maugham has said, "The crown of literature is poetry." No,
I agree.
Love.
I don't know if it's good poetry, right? Hopefully it's good.
Oh, we're talking about poetry, not only rhymes. That's
computers, they're making computers now that create poetry. It's just they're trying to do this whole thing, just make it into an algorithm, and a computer can create poetry. Just doesn't really resonate the same way to me as what a human's feeling.
What inspires your creativity?
Many things. I think it's at certain levels. At certain levels, our creativity comes from real experiences, right? So our emotions, whether it's pain, anger, jealousy, frustration, love, passion, right? This is one level of creativity. But I think at a deeper level, there is something that comes through us. We are channels. Writers, but I think anyone can become a channel if we clean out ourselves enough to receive it, right? If we sit in our calm, in our silence, if we sit with it, patience, right? Patience is important, to just let the creativity come through us. When we're bored, oftentimes that's the catalyst to then saying, well, what am I inspired to do, right? Nowadays, there's so many things coming at us between, the social media and the new, the overall ecosystem of media, right, that surrounds us, and connection, that oftentimes it can pull away from that quiet, that centeredness that gives the inspiration when we just connect to source, when we connect and let the words come to us, or the music that we hear in our heads. If we have silence, we can allow that. If we're constantly distracted by noise and entertainment and friends and texting, you name it, right, then YouTube, we lose that connection, which I think is the basis of creativity.
So you withdraw within yourself. You like to be alone. Do you write at night or early morning?
I'm usually I like to write during the day. I've never been someone that really likes to write late unless I'm trying to finish up a script and I'm really like on a roll. I am usually someone that likes to sort of write during the few hours a day, whether it's, well, poetry is different. Poetry can come to you, you know, start writing a few lines here and there, come back to it. It's like a song, you know, it's like you get something, you have an idea, you let it sit. But when I write like a script, let's say, I like to sit and just write for, you know, whatever time, 11 a.m., you know, pause for lunch and just go until like, you know, 5, 6 o'clock. I like to get good hours of writing. I think it's important to have a role, a certain space of time you give yourself. If you have only a window of 1 or 2 hours, I think it's very difficult to actually get into any kind of rhythm or really to deepen.
Yeah, you broke a bit. The connection was off just a bit, but I got it. The next question would be, and I'm pondering on this. Some people they withdraw within a very quiet environment and use a background, soft type of moody music, very slow, somewhere from very far, to hear it, or to stir your interest or your because you have the passion inside and has to go out. And how do you do it? You do it without music, without anything at all? Because it's interesting. I write a bit of that, and I'm too shy to even mention it, but I do write, and there's no verse without suffering, isn't that?
Yes.
It's a lot of suffering, and you cannot write. You cannot be a good writer. You cannot be. And I could see when I listen to your verses, and it's just taking you just so deep, and it takes you away. You could see there's a lot of emotion in there. And for someone like you, there's in the film industry, and you're right in the middle of people. Well, not today, because today we have a special situation of what's going on. But you are right in the middle of film and all that. I tried to and never succeeded. But and I don't bring myself as an alter ego. I just bring myself to make it to show the difference. You're very successful in that direction. Being busy with that film and being happy in a maybe relative happiness, now that I think about it. But you're right in the middle of life. You're right in the middle of success. How can someone like you be suffering? It is beyond. You know, sometimes you look at, and most of the people, because you are an exception. A few exceptions make the rule, but you're an exception, and it's fantastic to look at your age, so accomplished, and it takes so many lives of someone to even think about achieving that. Well, of course, there were atouts on your favor. Your father was a filmmaker, and a fantastic. I must have seen a couple of films, especially when I was your age. Scarface, and that a couple of times, and not because of it's fantastic. You know that picture could not even be replicated today. I mean, they have Narcos and they have the other things and other stories, but that particular one was so powerful. And what attracted me so was so delicate. The music also. The music was
Giorgio Moroder, right?
He wrote it.
Yeah, Giorgio Moroder. Yeah.
So you lived in that environment, and you are living in that environment, and you can make, you make motion pictures, and you can go documentaries, and when do you have time to suffer? When do you have time to sit down and recollect yourself? And maybe you don't suffer in the way of, well, generally people are looking and say, well, suffering, it's not real, but thinking of life itself, and thinking of the zeitgeist of what surrounds us today, but and looking at everything and thinking too much, because like Alexis Carrel, Dr. Alexis Carrel he took a Nobel Prize in 1932. A fantastic man. He looked inside. I mean, he could take the strongest microscope in the world and look inside an individual. And there's one thing that you cannot find, no matter how deep you look, and that is conscience. When conscience speaks to you, and when you realize, when you look at the world with a different eye and realize, I have this trajectory. I am more lucky than other people, and I walk on this path. And you think at the end, what is the destiny? Like I'm writing a book on human destiny, and that thing bothers everyone, not only me and you. That right? But you are so much involved in art, and you give so much to sometimes realizing, sometimes probably not realizing the amount of beauty that you put out there, and it is magnetizing. It's infectious. You know, people listen to a piece just like this, like we played right now, and you cannot get over it. But once you get off that trance, because you're in trance when you write poetry, and when you write in fact, if good prose has also poetry in it, it doesn't matter what it is, but it draws in parts and little touches of language that reminds that whoever is writing that has a lot of feeling. So when I look at you under the microscope of, the strongest microscope in the world, I'm trying to see, and I think I found conscience. I think I found what other doctors can't find. I think I saw much, much further and much deeper. And for whatever reason, I don't want to say this to be either cute nor funny, but I feel I've known you for thousands of years.
And you probably have. I'm very flattered. I feel it's always nice to have someone that recognizes your work. And you say, you talk about success. Success, of course, is being able to make something, right? To be able to create something, put your energy, but it takes a team, and it takes people to also recognize what you have to offer. And I feel that very much most artists in this planet, I think, are misunderstood and perhaps not embraced. I think this is a great grief that I carry in my heart. And I would love to see a transformation on this planet where we can shift our energy and our focus away from hating and misunderstanding to loving and understanding. And if we use art as the bridge, I know that as Schiller talked about, that essentially the future of relationships between countries and politics and diplomats is the artist, is the poet, right? The poet is the one that understands and hears and listens at a deeper level and shows you where we are connected and shows you where there's misunderstanding and clarifies. That is what we need to foster on this planet. And that's really what drives me, I suppose. In my heart, what drives me is that there's such a lack of emotion when it comes to our artistic feeling, that everyone is an artist, everyone is a creator, but they're not tapping into it. They're not being allowed to tap into it. They're not being given the tools to tap into it. They're not in a society that fosters art. It's so much of a society that's in fear all the time. And this is like the great enemy, I think, that everyone faces, right, is their fear. And in this, right now we're in a world that's full of fear. This is where you either break or you transcend, right? We all have that fear, everyone. You either think you're a mortal being and you're a material being, and your fear of sickness and death and decay and attack or whatever it may be stops you and blocks you, or you transcend it and you realize, I am this eminent divine being. As you said, we've known each other for 10,000 years, probably. Who knows? What is years in the cosmos? They don't count it, the revolutions of the sun when you're traveling around the galaxy. So I know I've been around there. I know it. That's where some of my poetry and some of my writing comes from, those memories and those visions. But the point is, everyone should have that privilege to remember who they are, what they're doing is an excavation of self. And that's what the artist's path is, the alchemy of the character. Basically, you go through writing something and you delve into the dark and you bring it to light and you try transform yourself in the process. So maybe to expand on what I said earlier, what inspires me too is when I feel something going on in the zeitgeist or within myself as a reflection of the zeitgeist, because there is no outside world without me in it, right? Everything I'm experiencing outside is a reflection of me. I have to go into that. I got to go and feel it. I have to charge it up, go into the garbage and okay, clean it out. What's still useful here? What can be refined and used, and what can be put back into the earth as fertilizer, right? That's the journey. And it's a very profound and powerful experience. I wish everyone had the opportunity to do more artistic work in their life. It doesn't matter if it's painting, if it's, you name it, right? Playing, singing a song, writing a poem, writing a story, writing a book, whatever. Just, we need art in this world because it's this what gives us the courage to survive in the face of so much injustice and unfairness and pain and suffering. Life is suffering, as the Buddha said. Yes, life is suffering. So we need art to at least make it bearable.
Oh, there's so much to say in here. Yes. The muse, when you hear it, when you hear your alter, the other voice within yourself. Because there's a voice speaking all the time. That is something. At the end of the verse, when you finish your poem, for example, sometimes you are astounded at what you've wrote. It's like you didn't write it yourself. Do you have that feeling?
Oh, so many times, as I said before, talking about where does the creation come from? So it comes from a channel. When we open ourselves to the channel, it just comes through. It's like you see it or you hear it, or you write it and you're like, didn't even have to think about it. It just comes through. Yes.
Yeah, it is amazing how you get it into the same. Probably it has to be a special moment that you retreat and you say, well, you have to be alone and do that. You've appeared as a child actor in your father's many films, JFK, The Doors, Natural Born Killers. People admire you for that. And what was your first impact with being in acting, actually? And did you have to go to take acting lessons as a child? Or it came in and you grew into it, having your dad next to you?
I wouldn't say I was much of an actor. I think I was just, being myself and saying the lines. I took acting classes later, and I grew up. But as far as being a kid, it was just, I think that's the point, that some people are natural actors. I didn't think I was a natural actor. I was very shy. I liked to be in my world, to create, to write. So I didn't like to be in front of the camera. But I felt safe, obviously, in that situation. So I did it. But yeah, I wouldn't have considered myself, a child actor. Many of these guys are very good. These young actors are real, they're already like old souls, they know exactly what they're doing and they know what they want and they have that clarity. For me, it was really just being on a set and seeing the whole world and just saying the lines that I was told to say and enjoying the experience more than anything.
Enjoying playing, just like Shirley Temple. You're too little to remember. You probably saw her.
Of course not. Not. I love Shirley Temple. She no spinach, right? Take away that awful greenery. It was a great, great song. No spinach.
Yeah.
One of her movies.
Yeah, some of the movies they'll never come back the same. I mean, you have the new technology and all that. In fact, technology advances much faster than civilization. Speaking about that, after you went to Princeton and Oxford, something that some people even dream of it. And what a lovely, I mean, I'm looking at the biography and it's astounding. You wrote a book, New World Order. And this is a touching point of what is going on today and how do you see the whole thing? What do you think about today's? I know we get into a subject that me and you probably love, and we would be here for weeks talking about. But it's just, what do you see about all this, and who runs the world, in your opinion, and you find? I know you have edited your and you're part of the editing and your father's the Untold History of the United States, which was a brilliant. I bought the book. I bought the what is that? 12 hours, 14 hours. I have the DVDs. I bought it twice because I had to give it as a gift to my friend, Doctor. But unbelievable. How do you come to what made you? I mean, the impulses. I know, people like me, like others, and when I say like others, when you write about something, you're not alone. You have me there. You have people there. You have admirers. You have people that cry over it and suffer over it and see it and rebel. About nonfiction, of course, they'll take everything. You have a population when you write something, and your world order is just on the button. You see it on the dollar. So it is.
It's everywhere. It's coming soon to a theater near you. It's coming fast. The New World Order rollout is coming very fast, and it's very interesting to see it because it's under the guise. It basically plays under the guise of socialism and under the guise of basically transnational control, transnational corporations owning the wealth of the world, basically divorcing ourselves from our constitutional public traditions in America, for example, right? We've lost our sovereignty over our country. And I think this election is proving that more than anything, that we are losing sovereignty over this country very quickly. If we don't get a hold of America, the New World Order will prevail, and it will basically be this authoritarian modality that will be global and control your body. As they said, some of them have talked about openly, some of these conspirators, the fourth industrial revolution is to basically go post-industrial and to control your digital identity and your biology and to merge it. They don't talk about soul or spirit because it is a dark side. But I do believe that ultimately this is God's universe. Creator source it's not a masculine or feminine concept. It's just the idea of source creation is the ultimate arbiter in this world. And we are an extension of that. And we are going through what we need as a challenge for our consciousness awakening to our own shadows and to the shadows that we have allowed to reign over us, the satanic element that has reigned over this world for too long. We have been basically submitting to it. This is the time now for us to see it in full force, the authoritarianism play out fully, complete control, and then that's our moment to catalyze a new consciousness to say, no, we have to stand in our sovereignty as humans.
You're mentioning the satanic. Let me go back to the ritual. So we'll draw us. It'll draw us into a different realm of. You probably are familiar with the celebration of the longest tunnel in Europe and Switzerland. Have you seen all the heads of states and all that? Have you seen the satanic ritual that went down there? It's unbelievable. Amazing.
Yes, I remember that. But see, what's interesting, by the way, is Desiderata, the poem, the fairy tale, is about that. Actually, the Satanic Principle is there. The Satanic Principle is the sorcerer who is ultimately a shadow of the two lovers. So I say that the dark side is ultimately always your own shadow. It's always something that is beholden to you. When you are the light, the shadow is always there, essentially as an obstruction or some place that's missing, that needs to be shed light upon. So in the story of the Desiderata, the satanic character that's manipulating them, right? Ultimately, it is that spirit of fear, of jealousy, that exists within all of us. And so it's up to us to ultimately transcend that and come back to our own sense of oneness with creation. And that's faith, and that is trust.
Faith and trust. When we look actually at the world, we look at the creator having created so much of it, and still, everything still is in creation. In fact, evolution is nothing else but an evolving from creation. And creation never ends. It's perpetuous, isn't it? So, but we have seen so much destruction, and we've seen extinctions as well. God's work. Let's not forget that. All the calamities are called what? The acts of God. That's the thing. So when we look at it, it's God is going to take care of everything. Where we've been, I mean, there are signs that ex-civilizations existed. Look at the Antisuyo and all that. You have ramps, highways, huge highways, so large. And you have signs of that. You have ramps. They found ramps of different apparatuses flying and all that. You have caves showing all this visitors. Let's call them the Anunnaki. You have all that. And we wonder why they don't stick around. It's probably because one of the reasons would be viruses. They're not resistant. So what do? They have to interbreed, and they have to go into a hybrid mode. But it's very interesting what you're saying, because we're facing a very difficult times. Very, very difficult times. And it seems to me, and many people, that we're locked into an impossibility of getting out of it. I mean, it's always as an Orwellian, call it whatever you want. I mean, he was a prophet, or he was a clairvoyant.
But he was also an intelligence operative, and I think he was. We know he was studying the Russian, system of surveillance and the gulags and all this. So he was aware of how the communists operated. But he was also British intelligence, and the part of the New World Order book that's so important to understand is that communism, socialism is very much. I don't want to say a creation of the British Empire, but utilized by the British Empire, because their game is controlling the planet. And it's not just British. I say it's an imperial system. They were the last empire since, and their policies were an extension of the same imperial ideology of the Venetians, of the Romans, of Babylon, right? So this empire continues and continues, and it's always about controlling the human. And this is logical consequence, the logical conclusion of all of that drive is, let's say they get that control, they cannot, there is nothing they can do with it. It will be their end. It will be their end.
I hope so. The technology is the problem. The technology is just so high in the control of everything, control of the media, control of all the means of communication. I mean, big corporations like hand in hand. It's always the same people that have the backup of capital to do something. Because you could have the greatest idea in the world. I have had many, and they die the way they come.
Isn't it frustrating as an artist? That's why I say the revolution is spiritual, it's artistic. We need more art in this world.
So many artists that died. So many artists that died in poverty. Go ahead, yes.
Or just broken internally, emotionally broken, because it's like Orson Welles said, you spend 10% of your energy making the movie and 90% looking for money.
Tell me about it.
It's a terrible system.
Sure.
It's a terrible system. It doesn't encourage the artist. It doesn't encourage the spirit, the human spirit, which is what must be fostered. So I feel like we're coming upon revolutionary times. It's just a question of when, but it's upon us.
Very sad that the blood has to be spilled. Very sad. Well, you had the David Rockefeller.
Does it have to?
Doesn't have to. Yeah, I love that. How? How? It's a decline of people stepping out of organized religion. You're talking about before you just said that you are retreating in your own room, in your own self, and there is where you find the divinity. Well, no wonder the Hindus are using the Namaste, or inner God to salute yours, and that's so much respect in that. But we're looking at the skull and bones. We could look at and many writers were part of the skull and bones. I don't know if they did that just to make it in life, just to realize that, to be famous and to reach a certain level, worldwide.
The Masonic structures, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are called to it. I think it's a soul level that oftentimes we feel called to joining orders because we've been part of them in past lives. For example, we've been part of the structure of the ruling elite, maybe in past lives. But that's a whole other conversation. Masonry is a complicated subject.
I just want to go into your other book. Then you wrote something about film. Rather, I could jump into the film. You wrote something about the paranormal experience and all that, but you have to tell me the story and tell us how you got into that. And then it's a long story. And
let's wait on that. Let's wait on that.
Let's wait on that. It's so interesting, and that I would love to go into that because we have some type of a wave that I could tell you a lot too.
Sure.
I could ask more than tell, because that's. Okay. But thank you so much for coming forward today, and it's an honor to have you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your very beautiful questions. They're very profound questions. I don't usually get asked, but such understanding, a deep depth of understanding that you have for writing and for art.
I just thank you very much for that. I love your writing. I love your creation. I hope we come in touch. We'll be in touch more. We'll stay in touch, actually.
Yes.
And consider me a friend, although I'm outside. I'm probably like your father, but inside I'm very young. So I keep that on that level.
Yes.
Very well. I'll again, my thanks go to you. I'm very honored that you came forward, and you're a man of 1,000 lives, and I just admire it, and everybody does.
Sir. It's a pleasure.
Till next time, and to our viewers watching all over the world, take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye. All the best, Sean.
That was beautiful. Thank you, sir. We'll be in touch.
And you. Bye-bye.